There's a new moon eclipse and it's clashing with Pluto, plus Mercury is about to go retrograde again. It's all happening this week. What could possibly go wrong? Welcome to the Mainly Moonology podcast. I'm your host, Yasmin Boland, an award-winning astrologer and the Sunday Times best-selling author of books including Monology and creator of the Monology Oracle cards. My intention for this podcast is to help you understand how you can create your dream life using mainly Moonology, the moon, as your guide. Hey everybody, it's Yasmin here and welcome to this week's Mainly Moonology podcast. So it really is a Moonology week this week because we have an eclipse coming. In fact, this week is an incredibly powerful time, astrologically speaking and moonologically speaking, because we have the new moon eclipse in Aries. So it's actually the second new moon in Aries in a row. So that's big, but as I said, it's also an eclipse. Now, let's start off by saying, what does it mean to have two new moons in the same sign in a row? So basically what you need to know is that new moons bring a new start. They bring a new, can't really say new beginning because I think that's tautology, but you know what I mean. They are a restart time. And as the new moons go through the zodiac, they go through all 12 signs of the zodiac every year. Now we're back at the beginning because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. What it is, it's like they're turning a light on in each sector of your house and giving you a new start in each sector of your chart. So the thing is, if you can work out where Aries is in your chart, that's where you are getting this very powerful message from the heavens about where the lights are being switched on in your chart, where you're getting this double chance for a restart, where maybe you failed to launch before and now here's the new moon eclipse packing a real Pluto punch and saying, come on, time to switch those lights on, time to set the fireworks off, time to have a new start in this particular part of your life. So just by the by, if you are a member of my Mainly Moonology membership, we will be sending you the PDF that you need so you can work out exactly where the eclipse is taking place, where it's triggering your chart and your horoscope and therefore your life. And also if you come to my Eclipse Alchemy webinar, it's a masterclass on Thursday, April 20th. If you sign up for that, then you will also find out where in your chart it's taking place. That's just a $9 masterclass I'm holding on Thursday for the eclipse. Details for that are in the description below, but just go to moonmessages.com/alchemy, ALCHEMY. So this particular new moon is a really potent one because it's taking place in the first sign of the zodiac, as I mentioned, Aries, which happens to be a fire sign. Okay, so it very much marks the start of a new astrological year. The energy of the new moon in Aries is all about taking action. It's about being bold and about going after what you want in your life. This isn't the time to be a shrinking violet. This is the time to let the world, the universe, your friends, your family, your beloved, let them know what you want, okay? Be courageous. Aries is very courageous. Aries is ruled by Mars, the planet of fire and war and drive and determination. As I said, Aries is a fire sign, so it's associated with very much with passion and courage and impulsiveness. It's the baby of the zodiac, so it sometimes lashes out. It goes where angels fear to tread. And this new moon being the second one in a row means the energy of this sign is really being doubly amplified in your life, in all our lives. The eclipse will affect us all. Doesn't matter what star sign you are, the new moon is big and the new moon eclipse is massive. So for one thing, it's also very, very much time to set your intentions and take actions towards your goals. So what do you want for yourself for the next 12 months, okay? Yes, it's April and you might think, well, that sounds like the kind of thing I would do in January. But it's the new moon in Aries, so it's the start of the new astrological year. So it's a really good time to set some really powerful intentions, not least because the new moon eclipse is actually clashing with Pluto, which is going to bring around, I'm sorry to say, probably some breakdowns, but also some breakthroughs, okay? So let's talk about eclipses. Eclipses are known for bringing about events quite suddenly. So be prepared for anything that might come your way this week. All bets are off. This particular eclipse, because it's clashing with Pluto, the very powerful planet associated with transformation, power struggles, and intensity, means we could encounter some challenges or obstacles during this time. But the whole point is to push through them. Remember, all these changes, anything that's happening in your life right now is happening not to upset you, not because you're a bad person, not because you're being punished by the heavens, but because this is the push you need to evolve and grow and really to become the person that you want to become the person that you signed up to be before you incarnated here on Earth. The thing with eclipses is that quite often what happens is that we know we need to make a change. It's so hard. We don't want to make that change. We cling on for dear life. You can have an image of someone like trying to walk away from you and you're kind of clutching onto their ankles. It can be like that. It can be a relationship. It can be a job that it's run its course. It can be a living situation. It can be anything that you need to do that you've been clinging on to. It's much harder if you don't do it before the eclipse. So if you're listening to this on the Monday before the eclipse on Thursday, and changes are happening, let them happen. It's going to make the eclipse easier, okay? I know it's not always easy at the time of the eclipse. And again, it doesn't really matter what sign you are. But if you happen to be Aries, born towards the end of the Aries cycle, then it's even more powerful for you. But, all that said, it's important to note that new moon eclipses in particular are all about moving forward. They're about getting us unstuck so that we can get on with the rest of our life. They help us to let go of what no longer serves us and to make way, as I said, for beginnings. So they're really about us getting back onto our right and proper path if we have drifted off it. If you've been feeling stuck in any area of your life, this week's new moon eclipse in the sign of Aries clashing with Pluto is the perfect time to make a change. It might not be easy, but it will be the right time to do it. So take some time now before we move into the eclipse on Thursday to reflect on what you want to release from your life and then what you want to bring in. Because if you're listening to this on the Monday or the Tuesday or the Wednesday or the Thursday, we are still in the waning cycle of the moon. That's the cycle that moves from the full moon to the new moon, when it's really time to just let go. And we'll be in the balsamic phase and the dark moon phase, which is really the time to do some healing and make amends and make peace with what is ahead of this powerful, powerful energetic shift, which is going to happen on April the 20th. I'd like to take the opportunity actually right now to invite you to take a quiz that I've created for the eclipse, because I want to give you an insight into how well you're likely to handle the eclipse energies. So as I said, eclipses are known for their transformative energies, but often it can be quite a jarring energy as well. It can sort of be like this slap in the face that you didn't know was coming, because they do bring sudden changes that we absolutely needed to make and we've been putting off. And as a result, they bring around upheavals. And again, especially if it's something in your life that's grown toxic, okay, that it's actually in your interests, in the interests of your highest good, to release from your life. It's important to understand that any eclipses, any changes that are taking place now under the eclipse, actually almost certainly necessary for your growth and evolution, or maybe for the growth and evolution of someone else in your life that's involved in this situation, or maybe for both of you. So even if they are uncomfortable and upsetting, it's important to try and think, maybe this is what I need, and if I were to give you a mantra to do, it would be good old Om Namo Narayani. Om Namo Narayani, Om Namo Narayani, surrender it to the divine. So, as I said, to help prepare for the upcoming eclipse season, which starts on Thursday, I've created the Eclipse Alchemy quiz, which is honestly quite a powerful and quite deeply psychological quiz. It's a short quiz. It's only 10 questions, multiple choice, but it's free. It'll give you an indication of how well you are likely to function and come through this eclipse season, okay? The questions cover a range of scenarios, including, for example, your need for stability, your ability to handle sudden changes, your willingness to let go of toxic people or situations. It's designed to help you identify areas of your life that may need a bit of extra attention during this transformative eclipse season time. And by taking the quiz, you can gain insight into your strengths and weaknesses, okay? And as a result of doing that, you can start to prepare yourself for any challenges that are coming up. You can basically live consciously. If you're feeling uncertain or anxious about this eclipse season, in fact, the Eclipse Alchemy quiz can be a valuable tool for gaining clarity and perspective. All right. So by understanding your own tendencies and the responses you give to the questions in the quiz, you will be able to navigate this eclipse season honestly with greater ease, confidence, and even grace. So if you're ready to prepare yourself for the transformative energies of the upcoming eclipse season, head over to moonmessages.com/EA quiz, EA for Eclipse Alchemy. So moonmessages.com/EA quiz and take the Eclipse Alchemy quiz today. It's a quick and easy way to gain insight into your own psyche and set yourself up for success during this powerful time of change. And there's a link in the show notes as well, the description below. In addition to the new moon and the eclipse, guess what? We also have Mercury starting another retrograde. As I said in the intro, what could possibly go wrong? This time, the retrograde's taking place in the sign of Taurus. Now, retrogrades are known for causing miscommunications, delays, confusion. So please do be sure to double check all of your plans and communications at this time, okay? Especially because this period of the year is so energetically charged. The eclipses are making sure of that. So, it's sort of enough that we've got everybody on tenterhooks because of the eclipse. Now with Mercury going retrograde, with miscommunications being even more possible, it really is a bit of a recipe for, some fun and games. It can also be a good thing, though. It can mean that, upsetting things which happen at around about this time can be undone later, which is always one of the blessings of Mercury retrograde that people tend to forget about. Because, the thing is, retrogrades can actually be a great time for undoing something you wish you hadn't done, taking back something you wish you hadn't said. They're a very good time to rethink, revisit, reflect, time to be introspective and take some time to think about what you want to achieve in your life. And if you're thinking, okay, which comes first, the eclipse or the retrograde, they're actually taking place within about 36 hours of each other. We get the new moon eclipse in the wee small hours of April 20 in the UK. That's late on April 19 Pacific time and mid-afternoon April 20 Australian time. And then the very next day at around about a few hours later, but pretty much 24 hours later, we get Mercury going backwards. So these two astrological changes, you could say they really are kind of linked by the fact that they're sort of almost happening at the same time. Because the other thing to remember, especially with Mercury retrograde, is that Mercury might not be actually going retrograde officially until April 21, which is the day after the eclipse in most of the world. But right now, even as I'm recording this, we are very much in the deep of the deep of the deep of the pre-shadow period, which is when Mercury is covering the ground that it will recover when it goes backwards. So we're already in Mercury retrograde in some ways. And so the eclipse in some ways could be said to be taking place under Mercury retrograde, or at least under the Mercury retrograde pre-shadow period. So it's all kind of wrapped up. All right. And it's a really, really good time to try not to have too many knee-jerk reactions because things are going to be a little bit crazy. So clearly this is a very, very big week in astrology. And excuse me, just by the way, if you're in my Mainly Moonology membership, you will also receive a PDF that goes into more detail about what Mercury retrograde means for you and where in your chart it's triggering. But even if you're not a member, there are some things you can do to make the most of this energy, okay? Because, ultimately, we don't really want to listen to these sorts of podcasts and then think, oh my God, I've got to go and hide under the blanket for a week. So I'm going to finish off by telling you 3 really good things that you can do this week to make the most of these energies, to make sure that you get the best out of these energies as much as is humanly possible. And remember, the first thing is to stop clinging on to something that you know you need to release. Okay, that's like the gold star. But let's look at 1, 2, 3 things to do. So I would say number 1 thing to do this week, especially if you're feeling a little bit shaky or wobbly, live consciously, okay? So that means, for example, well, the thing that springs to mind is staying sober. Because I know, unless you happen to be one of these very healthy teetotaler people, when things like this happen, it is really tempting to just hit the bottle or hit the champagne or, whatever it is that you do to zone out, even if it can be just sitting in front of Netflix. I mean, I guess there's a case to say if Netflix is what you need, then have some Netflix, or if wine is what you need, have some wine, or whiskey is what you need, have some whiskey. But try your best for at least most of the time to live consciously. Be present in the moment as much as you can. Look at your life and be aware of what's going on. Pay attention to the signs and synchronicities that come your way, because we're always getting these little signs and synchronicities from the universe. So especially because we've got the eclipse and Mercury retrograde, pay attention to the signs and synchronicities. Write them down, I would say, in your journal or, on a document on your computer, because it's so easy to forget them later. The universe is always sending us messages. And during this time, this eclipse time, Mercury retrograde time, honestly, these messages could be even more powerful than usual. So, live consciously, number 1. Number 2, this one is less cosmic and a bit more logical, but I think it's really important to state. Keep your friends and loved ones close around you, okay? Even if it's just communicating by, message, text, whatever, WhatsApp. This is a time to connect with other people, all right? And especially with people who you already love, who you already trust, you already know. The energy of Aries is all about taking action, but, it's also about thinking about what you need. And right now, chances are you're going to need people you know and love. It's nothing wrong. You can go out and meet some new people. In fact, new relationships which start this week could be life-changing because they're starting under the new Moon Eclipse, clashing with Pluto. But also make sure you stay in touch with the people you know and love, family and friends. And the third thing I wanted to say, and again, this is kind of more obvious, but I really hope that you're going to get this message, okay? Be kind to yourself and everyone else, okay? Meditate, chant, have a nice hot bath, go for a walk in nature. This is a time of great change potentially, and potentially of transformation. And it's important to treat yourself and others with compassion and understanding because, they're all going through stuff as well. Remember, we are all in this together and we can support each other through these challenging times. It's really, really important. So to sum it up, this week's new moon in Aries is a massively powerful time for setting intentions, especially intentions you've kind of made before but let lapse. It's a powerful time for taking action, moving forward, having a breakthrough, pulling the Band-Aid off. It's also an eclipse, as I said a million times now, which means that unexpected events and changes could come your way. You need to stay present. You need to connect with the people you love who love you, and you need to be kind to yourself and everyone else. And if you're wondering how you are going to cope with all these crazy eclipse energies, remember to take the free quiz so you can see how well you're going to handle the energies. moonmessages.com/EA quiz, and the link is also in the description. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Mainly Moonology podcast, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Mainly Moonology podcast. If you'd like to stay updated with the moon and moonology and astrology and all the other things we cover, be sure to subscribe to the podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You'll be notified whenever a new episode is up. Also, it would mean a lot to me and my team if you could leave us a glowing 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, please. That actually helps more people find us too, which spreads the love and surely also brings you amazing karma for taking a moment to help us out and to help other people find the podcast. Have a great week, and I hope to speak to you next week. Lots of love.